House Republicans announce a jobs plan focusing on an anti-tax and anti-regulations agenda for the fall. On the phone with us is Ohio GOP Representative Jim Jordan. He is chairman of the Republican Study Committee. Thanks for joining us, Representative.
Good to be with you today.
First, let's start off by asking what you think of President Obama's plan that he announced last week to curtail about 500 regulations.
Well, I mean, look, any step in that direction is good, but we got to get after the regulations that are really an impediment to job growth. Some of the things with Boiler Mac, Utility Mac, C-SPAR, just this cloud of uncertainty that hangs over the head of business owners right now relative to what new regulations are coming. And let's just be honest, the big regulation that's coming that everyone's uncertain about is the health care. So until we repeal that, you got this uncertainty out there, and I think a real impediment to job creation.
Senate Democrats killed cut, cap, and balance. Could we see another go at that?
I think so, because it makes sense. Would have prevented a downgrade, would have helped solve the problem. That's why the American people, as evidenced by the CNN poll back during the middle of that debate, said they supported it. 66% of Americans say this cut, cap, and balance thing makes sense. It actually is good common sense. So I think it's actually what will solve our problem. Cutting spending, capping it going forward as a percentage of our economy, and then really focusing in on the game changer long term, which is a balanced budget amendment to the United States Constitution. So certainly it makes sense, and we're going to continue to push for it. But I think what's important to remember is cut, cap, and balance and growth. Cut, cap, balance, and grow is what we need. So you need to reduce spending, but you need a growth element, which is why we got to rein in these ridiculous regulations and reform the tax code.
There's some talk about restricting the federal government's ability to regulate oil and gas drilling. Tell us about that.
Well, look, you cannot be the leading economy in the world if you don't have a ready supply of energy at affordable cost. And this idea is the federal government's making it much more difficult with the regulations and how they implement and the permitting process and move forward with the permitting process. That's hurting us. So certainly we want to allow we want to allow access to energy. We want to make sure the permitting process makes sense and actually works and is not an impediment to getting the energy we need to grow our economy.
Are conservatives out to rein in Environmental Protection Agency regulations, and if so, which ones?
Well, the ones that are impediment to job growth, we certainly are. Everyone wants a clean environment, a safe environment. Look, we all want a great America for our kids and our grandkids. So this idea that somehow Republicans or conservatives, aren't for protecting the environment is just ridiculous. Of course, everyone wants to protect the environment, but we want to do it in a sensible way, in a cost-benefit analysis kind of way. And we want to do it in a way that grows our economy so that we can continue to have this great economy and this great thing we call the United States of America. So I would argue we're against the ones that are an impediment to economic growth.
House Majority Leader Eric Cantor wants to allow small business owners to deduct 20% of their income from taxes. How do you reconcile that with Obama's goal of raising taxes on those earning more than $200,000 a year?
You don't, and unfortunately the president's all wrong. What we need is tax policy that's simpler, the code should be smaller, the rate should be flatter, and we need a policy that is the one that actually encourages job creation, encourages entrepreneurs and investors to do the things that help grow an economy. And raising taxes is certainly the absolute wrong thing to do. A flatter system, a one where you do get rid of some of the deductions and credits, but you overall reduce the tax burden, is the kind of system we need to move to. And it's one that makes sense. And I would argue this: Americans want fairness. They don't like the idea that approximately 47% of the population don't currently pay income tax, and they don't like the idea that this was announced a few months ago that in I think the second quarter, General Electric didn't pay any income tax at all. They don't like it because they understand that's patently unfair, a system like that. They want a system that applies uniformly, but it lowers the rates, lowers the tax burden, and that's conducive to job growth.
Senator Chuck Schumer accuses Republicans of putting politics ahead of our economic recovery. What do you say to that?
I mean, you would laugh. These are the same people who've spent us into this record deficits the last 3 years, record level of debt, and now they want to say, oh, somehow we're at fault because we're not for raising taxes on job creators. That would be laughable if it wasn't so serious. Look, They're the ones who had this stimulus package that didn't work. They're the ones who have done all this out of control spending, and now they're saying, "Oh, we want you to raise taxes and raise the debt ceiling to pay for all the spending that you were against and the American people are against." It makes absolutely no sense what they're doing.
And about this so-called super committee on deficit reduction, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich says it's absurd, about as dumb an idea as he's ever heard, and the committee ought to go. How do you react to that?
Well, I think the Speaker made a good point in the debate a few weeks ago where he said, the super committee is supposed to be the United States Congress. And that's constitutional. We're the ones who are supposed to decide these things. So I have some real concerns with this committee, but let's just be honest, it's the law now. And they're going to meet, and they're going to come up with something. Now, whether they can reach an agreement or not, I do not know. What I am nervous about is the Democrats, if you look at who's on there, they're going to be supportive of they're going to want tax increases, and that's just the wrong thing we need for our economy right now. So I'm nervous about that. And if they do get the tax increases, as the law says, this goes directly to the House floor, directly to the Senate floor. The Speaker can't keep it off the floor. The Senate doesn't have the 60-vote hurdle it normally has. And so I think if you get one Republican to go along with 6 Democrats and go for a tax increase, it's going to be real tough to keep that from becoming law. So that's my concern with this committee.
Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.